Good evening. My name is Jan Desper Peters, and I'm the Executive Director of the Black Mental Health Alliance. Tonight, this event that we are attending today serves as BMHA's signature fundraiser. The award celebration is for the life, work, and vision of Black Mental Health Alliance's principal founder, Dr. Maxie T. Collier, and those who embody this work. I'd like to welcome our board members. If you are a current board member or if you have been a past board member, because we were trying to reach out over the decades of the Black Mental Health Alliance, would you please stand? Current or past board members. Thank you. I'd also like to welcome those of you who are BMHA members, our supporters, our honorees, distinguished guests, and I also would like to just have you know that in the room we have a group of current Maxie T. Collier scholars from Coppin State University, along with their program director, Ms. Julie Manley. So if the Maxie T. Collier scholars would stand. I want to begin by acknowledging our generous sponsors, without whom we would not be able to do the work that we do, not only throughout the year, throughout our program year, but also tonight. We are grateful to each of the sponsors who see the value in partnering with advocacy organizations like ours and who share in our vision of providing culturally relevant approaches to the socialization of Black children, youth, and families. Your financial commitment speaks volumes of your dedication to underserved communities across the region. So sponsors, as I call your organization's name, I would really appreciate if a representative from your organization would come up. We have a token of appreciation for you. We are going to, is someone going to raise this screen for me, Calvin, so we can take the picture? We practiced that. No? Okay, so you're going to, you know how to do it? Screen up, okay, all right. We read. Okay. That was my request because in previous years we've taken pictures in front of a screen and they don't look good. And I remember that, so I said, not taking the picture in front of the screen. So if there is a representative from your organization here tonight, if you would come up and stand and receive our token, and then we're going to take a group picture, if you don't mind. So JUUL, we have Mr. Fagan here, Mr. Ali Fagan here, representing JUUL. Behavioral Health System Baltimore, I saw a couple of people here, but if Lynn is still here, or Krista, okay, Krista's gonna come up. Thank you so much. The Maryland Foundation of Psychiatry, I believe they told me they were not going to be here this evening, but we still would like to acknowledge them. Now, I have a whole team from Hope Health Systems, but I believe that maybe Yinka may come up and receive our token. Dr. Katherine Collier and Spectrum Dental. The Institute for Healing. Dr. Lakita Carter is not here tonight. Oh, okay, all right, Sarah's gonna come up and accept for the Institute for Healing. Thank you, Sarah. Zane Networks, is there a representative from Zane? Thank you very much. Beacon Health Options, I saw Jackie here. Is she gone? Jackie Pettis? She had to leave, okay, all right. Maybe we'll catch her tomorrow. BTST Services. Is Chris or Jada gonna come up? Or both? I'll take both. Because they're such wonderful supporters, I'll take them both. And then Kaiser Permanente, Celeste and Alma. If it were not for these individuals and the organizations that they represent, we would not have been able to pull this off. And so if you would just bear with us a moment as we share in this picture, I would appreciate it. You want us in one line? You want us to double? I can't see that. Still too wide. Again, thank you for your generous funding, which helps BMHA make an impact in the city of Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and everywhere in between. It is a matter of taking care of our children, our families, and our loved ones. That's what we're concerned about at the Black Mental Health Alliance. And the BMHA logo incorporates an Adinkra symbol from Ghana, West Africa, which means in unity lies strength. People always ask us, what's the peanut, or what's the thing with the squiggle? But it's really an Adinkra symbol. And we really feel that it fully represents what we do at the Black Mental Health Alliance and what we embody at the Black Mental Health Alliance. The Adinkra symbol is a reminder to contribute to the community, for in unity lies strength. Now, I would like to introduce you to my board president, Dr. Jonathan Shepard.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. And thank you, Jan. Say with me, what a wonderful day, in history. Let's do it one more time. What a wonderful day, in history. May 30th, 2018. What a wonderful day, in history. Welcome to the first annual Black Mental Health Alliance signature fundraiser, the Dr. Maxie T. Collier Awards ceremony and VIP reception. What a wonderful day in history. It's a day where we celebrate BMHA's principal founder and the 35 years that BMHA has been at the forefront of developing culturally relevant mental health programs and services for African Americans and other vulnerable communities. What a wonderful day in history. To honor the 4 Phoenix Rising awardees for sharing their time, talent, and treasure within our mental health industry. And on this wonderful day in history, I would like to personally thank each BMHA board member, and we had the board members to stand. I would like to also thank our outstanding and extraordinary executive director, members of the BMHA staff, our sponsors, our dues-paying members, friends and tonight's attendees for your support. What a wonderful day in history. To become a member of the Black Mental Health Alliance, tonight you will be afforded a glimpse of some of the work that we initiate and coordinate. And at the conclusion of tonight's events, you will have an opportunity to financially support and join the ranks of this great organization. And on a personal note, what a wonderful day in history. Today would have marked the 55th birthday of my Baltimore mother, Mrs. Candace Pierce, my beloved pastor's wife, who transitioned from earth to heaven on November 21st, 2017. Anyone who knows me understands the importance of my church family to me being here in Baltimore, so I had to say that on today. My desire is that tonight, it will be a historic moment in the chronicles of your life. I hope that you enjoy yourself and I hope that you get something out of this event, and God bless. Thank you.
I understand that our MC is parking, and the way that the program works, he would actually do this, but now I'm glad that I get the opportunity to do this. No, he's coming, but it's the next phase. We actually had asked him to give just extra special thank you to the Johns Hopkins School of Nursing, and the fact that they were so gracious in offering their space to us this evening. So they're our official venue partner. So we have been working primarily directly with Dean Phyllis Sharp and with Dr. Patty Wilson in the School of Nursing. But we also have with us tonight the Dean of the School of Nursing, Dr. Patricia Davidson. And we've asked her to give us a special welcome to her home. And we'd ask that she come up and do that at this time. Dr. Patricia Davidson.
Thank you so much. On this wonderful day in history, welcome to the #1 School of Nursing in the United States. And I can't tell you how very proud I am to have you here in our home and to acknowledge the great work that you do as an organisation, and of my colleagues, Dr. Sharps and Dr. Wilson. I just think at Johns Hopkins is a place of history, and I was just sitting in my chair thinking about Johns Hopkins, who I often do at these sort of occasions. And I think about him as a man in the late 1800s in Baltimore, how courageous he must have been to being an abolitionist, to being a pacifist, and how he had the vision of what Johns Hopkins would be, including specifying in his will that he wanted a school of nursing, as well as a hospital and an orphanage for the community. So we can't turn on the TV any day without sometimes feeling a sense of desolation and hopelessness. But I think what the BMHA and many of the amazing people in this room show us that through hard work, dedication, courage and hope, we can tackle these really complex health issues. I'm just amazed to meet Dr. Stewart in person because I've read about her from afar, and of course to have Senator Nathan Pulliam, who's a great champion for healthcare in the room. So all I can say is that we're delighted to partner with you, and just thank you to each and every one of you for keeping this very important cause front and centre in your hearts and in your minds and in your generosity and the time that you provide. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Davidson. I just want you to know that people have commented on the lovely garden that we were able to share with them this evening. And if it were not for your generosity, we would not have had that beautiful space. So thank you again. So ladies and gentlemen, we have our MC in the house. And he's a professional, so I only had to give him 20 words to move him into the direction of our program. So many of you already know our speaker, our MC for the evening. And he is, see, Jonathan was supposed to do this part. And he left me up here by myself. No, we are fortunate to have one of Baltimore's best-known media personalities with us tonight to guide us through the program. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Fox 45 anchor, Mr. Kai Jackson.
Jan, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you. I want to thank my longtime good friend, Wesley Wood. Give Wesley a hand. He's the reason why I'm here today. If there is a guy who's plugged in the community, it's Wesley. And I want to apologize for being late. I was in D.C. at our sister station down there. I moderated the gubernatorial debate earlier today in DC, so that's why I'm getting back up here a little late today. I apologize for that. But I'm a journalist, so I'm not advocating for anything other than for you all to stay engaged in the issues and knowing who the candidates are. It's very important. It's critically important that we do that, and I think that we educate ourselves to find out who's who. But thank you for having me here. I haven't had a chance to work with Black Mental Health Alliance in a while, but this organization is critical to serving health needs in the community in general, and particularly the African American community. There are a lot of issues that are affecting us today. I think the talent, particularly at a wonderful institution like Johns Hopkins, is here. I think the people are here with passion, and all we need from that point, in my opinion, is those with ideas. Some ideas that are kind of thinking outside of the box, ideas to help people in their lives. And I'm kind of speaking, this is from me from the heart right now, so that I don't have to continue to get on the news every single night and report tragedies like we've had recently. And I don't need to point them out. I think you know which ones they are. We need more than just intervention. We need to put a good, solid foundation under the lives of young people. I was born in Washington, D.C., raised in Prince George's County by a single black woman. My father was in my life. He's gone now. He was never an absentee dad, but he wasn't in the home, and it had a serious impact on me as a male. But because he was there in my life, because I had a good, strong mom and some other role models, I'm here where I am. But I'm not here by myself in a vacuum. I didn't make it here by myself. There were other people who are incredibly significant in helping Kai Jackson get to where he is today. And so I'm saying all that to applaud each and every one of you for being here tonight. You have, I mean it. I mean it. You all, and many of you all have a chance to shake your hands and meet, but you're the leaders on the front lines of what's happening out here today. And you might be, and I trust that many of you are, helping other people in their communities consequently become leaders themselves. And if not become leaders, perhaps find services in ways they can reach out to folks like you and other mental health professionals to do the vast work that needs to be done. So, that said, I'm here, I'm planted, I'm settled. I think Jan wants me to do a couple of things. One, we have a proclamation from Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh, and I think we want to read that today. So let me get my glasses so I can see, and let's do that, because the rare certainly recognizes what's happening out here today. Certificate of recognition on behalf of the citizens of Baltimore. I am pleased to present this certificate to Black Mental Health Alliance in celebration of your 35th anniversary of the 2018 Dr. Maxie T. Collier Award Ceremony. Since 1983, you've worked to promote culturally relevant approaches to behavioral health access, quality, and integration, transforming countless lives in our communities. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, I commend you for 35 years of commitment to providing mental health services for African Americans and vulnerable communities. Congratulations, presented on this 30th day of May 2018, Catherine Pugh, Mayor. You want to take it? You want to take it? Yes, yes. Take that proclamation. Thank you, sir. Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. At this time, I think we have a video presentation that we're going to watch. Wait a minute, Shannon. You want to do that now? You want to wait?
Is it the video?
We can get back to that.
She already spoke.
Okay, great, great.
And then here, you're right here.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you, Jan. We'll get to the video presentation shortly. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I have another introduction for you. Would you please welcome Dr. Anel Prim. Dr. Prim, would you come forward and say some words, please?
Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Althea Stewart, not Althea, like the late tennis star Althea Gibson, who was also a trailblazer in her own right, but Dr. Altha Stewart. Another first in her field, in this case, the first Black president of the American Psychiatric Association. This is the first Black president in the oldest medical society in the United States, which was founded in 1844, 174 years ago. So it is most fitting that Dr. Stewart is here in Baltimore to honor the late Dr. Maxie Collier and the Black Mental Health Alliance in one of her first public appearances since she became APA president earlier this month. The historical significance of Dr. Altha Stewart becoming president of the APA in 2018 cannot be overstated. This achievement marks 50 years of struggle among Black psychiatrists in the APA for their leadership to be fully recognized as other racial groups have been recognized, and for Black psychiatrists to be positioned at the highest levels of leadership in the organization and the profession. No doubt, Dr. Stewart has a long track record of leadership. Early in her career, she was chosen as a Falk Fellow, one of the most prestigious APA fellowships for psychiatric residents, now known as the American Psychiatric Leadership Fellowship. Dr. Stewart has led public mental health systems in some of the most complex urban environments in our nation, such as Detroit, New York City, and Philadelphia. She has served in the top leadership position of several organizations as well: the Association of Women Psychiatrists, the Black Psychiatrists of America, the National Leadership Council on African American Behavioral Health, as well as the American Psychiatric Foundation. Her leadership at the foundation set the stage for several innovative programs: the Advancing Minority Mental Health Awards, recognizing stellar mental health programs around the country; Helping Hands grants, supporting medical students, conducting initiatives to support mental health in underserved and distressed communities; Typical or Troubled, focused on raising awareness of mental health in youth and training teachers in discernment; Partnership for Workplace Mental Health, which focuses on recognition of the importance of mental health among employers; Community Connections, in which the foundation initiated town hall-style meetings to enlighten communities about mental health and reduce stigma in cities like Columbia, South Carolina, her hometown of Memphis, Tennessee, Toledo, Ohio, and Miami, Florida; the development of a mental health guide for faith leaders, which continues to enlighten faith communities around the country about mental health; the Stepping Up initiative, focused on policies and programs to reduce the number of people with mental illness in jails and prisons. She has a long track record, even beyond what I just shared with you. Dr. Stewart has been seated at the head table in the rooms of power in psychiatry for the past several years. She's known for her crystalline thinking, her strategic mind, and her ability to formulate the crucial questions to cut through the fog of vexing problems facing organized psychiatry today. She remains unapologetic, steadfast, and vocal in her support of sound mental health policy and ethical action in the field. Her leadership as director for the Center for Health and Justice-Involved Youth at Tennessee Health Sciences Center and promotion of systems of care for young people in her work in Memphis and beyond has been another important platform through which Dr. Stewart's leadership has manifested. There is tremendous excitement and anticipation of Dr. Stewart's year as president of the American Psychiatric Association. Mentorship of psychiatrists in training and early career psychiatrists, global mental health, and diversity and inclusion, and abandonment of the isms of the past are the main areas of focus for her presidential year. The title of Dr. Stewart's chapter in the 2012 book, Women in Psychiatry, Personal Perspectives, is Specializing in the Wholly Impossible, I contend that Dr. Stewart is a specialist in making what appears to be wholly impossible, wholly possible, as evidenced by her becoming president of the American Psychiatric Association. We are fortunate that Dr. Stewart has charted and actualized a bold path of leadership from which the field of psychiatry, the mental health profession, and the people of our nation will most certainly benefit. Thank you.
Desper, and I'm the Executive Director of the Black Mental Health Alliance. And this is our tribute to our co-founder, Dr. Maxie T. Collier.
Maxie Collier was simply an outstanding doctor and psychiatrist, and he was a great public servant, and he did an excellent job while he was there.
Maxie had a community heart, and that community heart was one of the things that indeed he embraced. And whatever needed to be done, and you have to do it not only with fortitude, but you have to do it with courageousness, and you have to have some stamina about you.
He became the new health commissioner. He was the deputy health commissioner. And Maxie's leadership really helped us create a vision for local authorities that focused on a single point of administrative responsibility, continuity of care, expanding the range of services, doing innovative activities around financing and expanding housing for folks with serious mental illness who were Baltimore City residents. And
Dr. Collier, if he were here today, and if he could basically respond to the question of, where is the Alliance, and what do you think about the Alliance being here 30 years later, after having the vision to basically make certain that issues impacting our psychological health and well-being, issues affecting optimal mental health, issues affecting family engagement and our psychocultural, transformation, those kinds of issues. I think Dr. Collier would be pleased to know that we are still around.
He was realistic about racism. He was realistic about the politics of urban living. So I think he would be fascinated that survival has occurred. That was one of his wants for the Black Mental Health Alliance. So the fact that the Black Mental Health Alliance is alive, is well, is striving, is thriving, and it is staying true to its purpose, I think would just fascinate him. He would just, I could hear him laugh at, oh wow, guys, you did it and you're doing it. I can hear him saying that.
I feel that Dr. Collier is smiling down from heaven to see that, that his vision was being carried out by the organization, 20-some years later, after his death, and 35 years later after the inception of the organization.
Maxie would be very proud that the Black Mental Health Alliance is still going strong, and he'd be very, very excited because the reason why it was created, there still is such a need for it. There is a need for cultural competency. There is a need still a big need, maybe even a bigger need now. But yeah, he would be very, very proud.
I want to thank the Black Mental Health Alliance. I apologize that I'm not able to be there at the program today, but I want to thank you all for honoring and celebrating my father, Dr. Maxie T. Collier, and bringing his works to a new generation. And I want to encourage continued dialogue, cross-generational respect and conversation as we attempt to tackle these seemingly insurmountable issues that face our community and the world. Thank you again, and I hope everyone enjoys the program. Much love from Maxie D. Collier, Maxie Jay Collier, Shatar Collier, and our entire family.
Well, images take some vision and some thought to put together, and that one was done by a longtime friend of mine, Calvin Watkins. Calvin's up there, he's humble. Calvin, please give him a hand. He did a phenomenal job. He's a filmmaker, something I do as well outside of my role as Fox 45. If you want to talk about films, we can do that after this. But I'm quite familiar with two people in that video, Dr. Grady Dale and Dr. Janice Stevenson, and it just goes to show you again how small your world is in a sense that we've had an opportunity to work together in the past. But without any further ado, because you don't need to hear from me, would you please put your hands together and welcome Dr. Alpha Stewart. Dr. Stewart, would you come forward?
Good evening. Those of you in the audience who know me know that I'm rarely speechless, but after the introduction that Dr. Prim gave me, I needed a moment to regroup, so thank you, Maxie. I am truly honored to have been invited to join you this evening, to be here to share a few words about my thoughts on the theme for the evening. I had the occasion to meet Jan at the Black Psychiatrist meeting a few months ago in Memphis, and we chatted about the topic and what I would talk about, and so I began preparing my comments for the evening. And as I said to a couple of people earlier tonight, then yesterday happened. And I was out of the news cycle for a couple of days because I've been kind of busy. I'll be on the road for the next few days. So I was trying to get out ahead of my work at home. And so I wasn't paying attention. I'm not a big social media person. The people at the APA have forced me to have these accounts, Twitter and Instagram and Twitter. And, so I'm not from that generation. I remember mimeograph machines before fax machines. This is not a hairstyle. This is my true color. And so I decided that after living through yesterday, that perhaps in the spirit of Maxie Collier, who I had the pleasure of meeting several times in my early years, as you heard, I have issues. I like being in charge, which is how I get elected and appointed to leadership roles, because I figure I can do it. And if it's got to get done, I may as well go ahead and do it. Anel was right on point. I have no filters. And now that I'm a card-carrying Medicare recipient, I have fewer filters than I ever had in life. I have reached that age where I'm an old woman who can say what she wants. And I'm not looking for a new job, and I'm not afraid to not have a job. I'm a doctor, I can always work. And I encourage all of you young people in the audience to settle into what you enjoy and become expert in it, because then you will never have to worry about anybody threatening your job. Because I can just hang out a shingle here in Baltimore if somebody will sponsor me for a license, I can, But yesterday happened. And for anybody who's been living under a rock like I was for a couple of days, yesterday was a moment in history. Not a wonderful moment, but an interesting, seminal moment in history. Anel talked about the time of my election and the timing of my election. People have described it as the perfect time, the perfect convergence of events, the perfect opportunity for having some change. And I'd like to believe that all of those things are true. I also am from the South. Memphis is, as you know, in the Bible Belt. We are, in fact, the buckle of the Bible Belt, so we really take our church seriously. Can I get an amen? Amen. Baltimore is up south. And so, as I began to think about yesterday, I said, the talk I was going to give is good. I'm not modest. Guilt, shame, modesty gave them up. Don't want them back. But it's not the talk I need to give, the one that my spirit is telling me to give. So if you will bear with me for a minute, or two, or how much, 20? 20 minutes? Okay, just raise your hand when it's time for me to stop. And if I'm not through, I'll just keep talking. But it brought back several memories for me. Born and raised in the South. In the 1950s, still Jim Crow, in the city where Martin Luther King would be assassinated later. Still fighting the Civil War in some respects, because Memphis was right there on the river, and we were between the North and the South, and there's a real heritage of Cotton is King and slavery and other things that have really imprinted the people of Memphis in a way that has never allowed them to grow and develop like Atlanta and Birmingham and some of the other southern cities. And so all of that is a part of who I am and how I came to be who I am. But of late, this whole election, the first, and all of that, and all the expectations, and the perspectives and perceptions, and the desires of people who for a long time were denied, could have been very oppressive. But because I'm from the South, because I'm from Memphis, because I came from a two-parent household at a time when that was not always the case, because I was educated, because I went on to become a doctor and then a psychiatrist, and then had the audacity to become a leader in the field that I had selected, I decided that I should share with you tonight something directly out of Maxie Collier's book, Phoenix Arising. I had the opportunity to read part of it in preparing for the talk, and I was gonna say a few things that were consistent with that message and kind of related to what I do today and how I think that behavioral health, psychiatry, mental health are all critical issues that we all need to embrace and understand and integrate into our very fabric of our being. But even that wasn't enough, because yesterday happened. Yesterday, when I finally heard the whole sequence of events around the comments made by that lady about this other lady who I respect very much and who I believe has probably had the lowest profile of a powerful person in politics in a long time, and who I personally respect and am trying to find out. So if anyone in this audience knows her agent and can hook me up, I'd like to invite her to speak at the APA next year. So I'm just putting that out there, just in case anybody here knows Valerie Jarrett's agent. Let a girl know. But in the midst of trying to process how, why, what about this whole experience, I came to realize that not only is this not new, or should it not have been unexpected, in fact, perhaps that is a part of why now is the perfect time. That perhaps having the perspective that I have in the big chair, as I call it, in the nation's oldest, as you heard from Dr. Prim, medical society, older than the American Medical Association. Let's be clear on that. We, the psychiatrists, came along before the AMA. But in addition, we are the largest psychiatric association in the world. So we have a big voice. And now my big voice is the voice of that big voice. So I started thinking about, well, if I have an audience that I want to say some things to that I think will be relevant both to the theme and to the time. How do I start that? And I'm going back to something, you know, I'm very big at if I've got something that works, I keep using it. And one of the quotes that I am most enamored of these days is something that I saw in I'm Not Your Negro, James Baldwin's story. To be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time. And I keep thinking, we are, as a people, enraged all the time. And while we hide it well and minimize it and deal with it in our various ways, there is something to be said about how do you have maximal human development, be a phoenix arising when you are enraged all the time. And it's the little stuff as well as the big stuff. It's the yesterday stuff as well as the stuff that I remember growing up. The first time I heard the N-word directed at me, which I knew was not a good thing because my daddy pulled me away. He knew early on that I wasn't good at making friends and influencing people when they pissed me off. So in reading the book and putting together Baldwin, Collier, they came from a similar perspective. The other person I would put in that cup of tea would be Frances Cress Welsing. People who have a particular way of identifying very neatly what needs to be said in a way, even if you don't like it, you recognize the truth in it. And so you share it with other people. So I'm going to share with you some things that I gleaned from Dr. Collier's book that I think are particularly relevant today. And I don't mean just this day, but in today's world. He opens his book with this question for the reader. Is Afro-America up to the task of coming to terms with itself? And we heard in the video someone say, I think he would say, y'all made it, and you're still doing it. I'm so happy. And I think that's right. But I interpret it just a little bit different, as he's asserting that as behavioral health professionals, we must reflect African-American reality for those who we work with, and by extension, ourselves and our communities. He was clearly a man ahead of his time, kind of a Renaissance, an Afro-Renaissance man, if you will. And I think he coined that word, clearly ahead of his time, because his book was published, remember, in 1990. Phoenix Arising, published in 1990. In the chapter he actually titled Maximal Human Development from Critical Questions to the African-American Renaissance, he describes the basic issues of living, what we now call, in 2018, social determinants of health. He did this in 1990, a man ahead of his time. Food, shelter, money, safety, comfort, a sense of connectedness. This is what we teach today about the whole person, dealing with the whole person, recognizing that people are more than their diagnosis and illness, and whatever treatment we plan to prescribe for them. He discussed the need for making sure that issues were presented with the broadest of appeal, because if you want to have a transformational movement with Black people, you got to understand we represent a wide spectrum of interest and identities. It's not just the differing skin colors and the way we speak and how we were raised and what church we go to. We got other identities that are just as important, and we have a spectrum of interests that range from who would recognize me as a girl who grew up watching, please don't laugh too hard, the Hillbilly show. I can't remember the name. No, that one too. I can sing the song because they were from Tennessee. The one that comes on that was on the Grand Ole Opry stage. Hee-haw. Thank you. I can sing a good country western song, as well as I can hum along with Jonathan Butler, and sing a little Beyonce every now and then. Only when I'm by myself, though, because I can't hit those notes. And it is that wide spectrum of interest, I think, that caught his eye, because recognizing that we are not all the same is the first step for us before we can expect others to recognize that about us. He said, an individual can catalyze a group, and believe me, there are some people who really can catalyze a group to move and do things, and there are other people who are essential to lasting continuity and success in the effort. So there are the people who start it and the people who continue it, and sometimes they're the same person and sometimes they're not. I myself have become known in the cities that Anel described for you. I was known as the perfect transitional object because I knew I would not be around when the change actually went into effect. My job was to be the transitional object for everybody who hated change to just load up on me while they were still making the moves to change. And then as they became more aware that the change was inevitable and it was gonna happen, I was marching out of town. As one of my bosses told me, when they come to get you, and they will, just get out ahead of them and make like it's your parade. These little life lessons matter as you're getting through life. Maxie talked about key symbols, that you have to have something that gets people geeked up about it, okay? In the 60s, it was between We Shall Overcome and Black Power. Those were the disparate pieces. In the 90s, it's a whole different kind of language. It's Black Life Matters, Black Mental Health Matters, Wakanda Forever, Stay Woke, the space that we inhabit, the space we're in, the one we work in, and this new term that young people have taught me, intersectionality. I just used to call it bicultural and, you know, having many different roles that I played, but they've got a whole new language around this, which I kind of like. And I'm trying to learn to use it appropriately, so if that was not appropriate, just tell the people who taught me. And then that you must be, if you're gonna really have a transformational movement, you must be engaged in almost an evangelical way in making people commit to unifying in pursuit of whatever it is you do. And recognize, and I think Maxie said it well, recognize that this is a tough thing to do, but it's gotta be done. Everything but race would be the subtitle of the work that I do on a daily basis, and probably will be the subtitle for my president's year at the APA. People want to talk about everything but race. They want to talk about diversity and inclusion. They want to lump all of this into cultural competence. They want to say that we are post-racial, because we had a black president, and I fear that at some point, the APA is going to say, well, we've done that now, we can check that off of our list, so we don't have to worry about them black people no more. But in addition to what Maxie said, James Baldwin says, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed if it is not faced. And I think in the spirit of Maxie Collier, I wanna do a couple of things as I close. I wanna talk to you about how phoenixes, multiple phoenixi, arise from the ashes and emerge from the ruins, sometimes of their own destruction. They lead by example, they identify champions, they understand how to create community collaboratives to get work done. It's not me, it's us and we. They have standards, they have morals, they have values that guide them. It is not everybody for themselves. It is not do whatever you want to do and nobody cares. They understand the environment and they work within that environment to the betterment of people. They know how to engage people. You know, if you can't talk to somebody and make eye contact, and doctors know this better than most, I fired a doctor who looked at the computer screen too much. and told her when I was trained, we talked to people. And if she had to talk to that computer, I understood that was the process. She just couldn't be my doctor because I had a need to make eye contact. They understand that nothing in this world operates without somebody's support. Most people think of support as money. I think of support as being a combination of financial resources, human capital, and community stuff. Everybody in the community has something to offer. If they don't have money, they've got time. If they don't have time, they've got an awareness of something that's going on that needs to be dealt with. Everybody's got something to offer. And then we as a people have got to accept the fact that evaluation is what gets us to the next level. We can't be afraid to be evaluated. We can't be scared of what people will say. In fact, if we got involved with helping to create the evaluations, it might better reflect what we'd like to see as the outcome. And so I'm going to close with this story. It's a favorite of mine about two groups of people and how they dealt with change. One was the pursuers of the possible, and the other were the predictors of the inevitable. Predictors, of course, saw the glass as half empty, thought change agents and activists were wasting their time. They felt hopeless and helpless regarding anything being possibly changed. Pursuers of possible, on the other hand, saw problems as opportunities and challenges as solutions in the making. They were hopeful and confident that by joining together, they could shape a new future. They learned the valuable lesson that it is better to test your strength and be wrong than to proclaim your weakness and be right. I think Dr. Collier Dr. Maxie Collier was a pursuer of the possible, and that he would want us to go forward with that understanding regarding the work that lies before us in transforming the future of our communities. So tonight, let's invoke his spirit. Let's see him looking down, smiling on all of us tonight as we recommit to his teachings and pour our energy into the phoenix arising to positively impact the lives of people wherever your path takes you. Thank you.
Stay here for 1 second.
Now I'm embarrassed.
Dr. Stewart, thank you so much. I have a question for Dr. Stewart, and then we're going to move on with the program, but this goes back to something she said in the beginning. I think this would be helpful for me as a journalist. I'll make this really quick. You mentioned the social media situation that happened. Dr. Stewart, is it your professional opinion that we should not, and I'm asking this because I have two daughters who they're 12 and 8, and I'm always concerned about how life affects them. Mm-hmm. Should we not underestimate how visible and vocal words, at times when they're even hateful and cruel, what kind of effect that can have on our children?
Oh, I think the old adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm us, is absolutely wrong. Words do tremendous damage, and the words on social media today are some of the most vitriolic, mean-spirited, undermining of good psychological health and well-being that I have ever seen. And I encourage parents to monitor that, to have conversations specifically about these kinds of things and the impact they will have on you. I am not a child psychiatrist. I work with children all the time, though, and I see, in my work in the juvenile justice system, I see the negative outcome of kids who have been bombarded with words. That's the early trauma before the physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. These kids are abused verbally. I hate you, you're not gonna amount to anything, you're no good, all of that matters.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. And I'll remember that as I do my work as well, and as I parent, as a father, because it's a frightening time. Whew, that's for sure. As we present, ladies and gentlemen, the Phoenix Rising Awards, I'm going to ask the following folks to come up and join me on stage, if you will, right now. Dr. Katherine Collier, please come forward. Ms. Renee Cohen, Senior Aide to U.S. Senator Ben Cardin, as well as Jan Desper Peters, and Dr. Jonathan Shepard. A video excerpt for each honoree has been prepared, so after the reading of their bio, we will review the video, and the honoree will be asked to come forward and accept their award. And stay up here for just a second so our esteemed photographers can take their pictures, if you would, please. Jan?
Can we just give Dr. Stewart, Dr. Alpha Stewart, another hand? Thank you so much. Dr. Annelle Prim is so humble, but I always lean on her when I want to get the best speakers, and she always has the best relationships. So I just wanted to acknowledge her effort in helping us to contact Dr. Stewart. So we had this wonderful idea that we would prepare these video statements from each of our honorees, and Kai did a wonderful job of thanking Calvin Watkins, and Calvin and I go way back. I think we've probably known each other for 20 years, but just wanted to acknowledge his company, Chosen Media, for working with me really over the last 2 to 3 weeks to pull this video effort together. Yes. So we asked Ms. Renee Cohen to come forward because the office of Senator Ben Cardin is a great friend of ours as well. And she actually asked me if we thought it would be appropriate and would we like her to speak to the senator about having senatorial citations for each of our honorees. And I said, absolutely. So I'm going to ask Renee to just read one so that you can hear the citation, and then when you come to get your award, you'll also get the citation from the senator.
Thank you. I just hope that next year, when you come back, we can have a Q&A session with you. Couldn't we have learned a lot? Yes. So this is I don't know if it's my second or third year that I've come to this event. I just want you to know briefly that Senator Cardin is really pleased that, I don't know whether I reached out to Jan or Jan reached out to me, but that our office has created a kind of a relationship that I hope you all know we're there for you. Jan has been an amazing representative of your organization and has been included in a number of events that Senator Cardin has had dealing with mental health and opioid addiction. She's been a great representative for you. So we're happy to be there for you as your senator, as your friend. And you know that if there's any way we can help, even in these crazy times, we're going to try. So we do have a senatorial citation from the Honorable Benjamin L. Cardin, United States Senator of Maryland, a certificate of special recognition presented to Aladipo and Florence Fadiora. Where are you? Hope Health Systems Incorporated, co-founders, as recipients of the As recipients of the Phoenix Rising Award at the Black Mental Health Alliance's 2018 Dr. Maxie T. Collier Award Ceremony, May 30th, 2018, signed Benjamin L. Cardin, United States Senator of Maryland. It's my pleasure to give this to you.
Thank you. And so on behalf of the clinical and administrative staff of Hope Health Systems Incorporated, thank you. On behalf of the medical community in Baltimore, Washington, D.C., the states of Maryland and Delaware, the DMV region, the Mid-Atlantic states, the Northeast, the United States of America, and truthfully the world, thank you. Your simple commitment to quality mental health care has transcended cultures, countries, languages, and even physical and emotional boundaries. And for that, we are grateful and ever indebted to you. The Fadiora family is an example of how a family works together to achieve their God-given purpose in the earth. And I want the Fadiora family to please stand. These are just some of the children of the Fadioras. Thank you. I said earlier, what a wonderful day in history, May 30th, 2018. And what a wonderful day in history it was in 2011 when I had a chance to come to Hope Health Systems in Woodlawn and interview as I was finishing up my psychiatry fellowship in child and adolescent psychiatry, actually here at Johns Hopkins, and finished it here. And I had a chance to interview over there at Hope Health Systems. And when I walked in the room, I just really, it really kind of blew my mind, to be honest with you, to see how a family could work together and how children, siblings could work together with their parents and to be able to run an organization as structured as they are. When I left there, I was like, wow, this is the place for me. And typically when I know that something is really pulling strong on me, I have to go back and visit a second time. So I went back that second time, and they're like, why are you here again? But I had to go back that second time because I knew that this was the place for me. And for them to be able to inspire me to be able to become a leader in psychiatry just by those couple of visits was very momentous to me. Also, I also appreciate Dad Fadiora because when I was purchasing land in 2013 to build a home, he was the first person to come with me to that land and bless that land. I will never forget that. I would never forget that. And he and his son has also come even and blessed the land at my church. And so I am grateful to that. We salute you, Mr. and Mrs. Oladipo and Florence Fadiora, for the inspiration that has been given to others to dream big and to live mentally and emotionally healthy lives. There's a song by Mahalia Jackson that says, if I can help somebody as I travel along, if I can help somebody with a word or song, if I can help somebody from doing wrong, no, my living shall not be in vain. No, my living shall not be in vain. No, my living shall not be in vain. If I can help somebody as I'm singing this song, you know my living shall not be in vain. Be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as you know, your labor is not in vain in the Lord. And I have breaking news just before I relinquish this mic. I'm not a reporter, I'm not a journalist. I'd like to be one, but I'm not. But as part of their vision, breaking news, to increase access to necessary care, Hope Health Systems has purchased a new multi-purpose medical facility. This 44,000 square foot facility will be a key part to a $6 million project that will include improved access to behavioral health care, primary care, substance abuse services, and case management services. You've heard it here first. You have heard it here first. And we are so honored to salute you on today. Thank you.
Very first board member. See, it was 35 years ago, Dr. Dale. Dr. Dale and his wife Helen gave me a FAAN. You know, a FAAN? And these words were written on the back of the FAAN. And as I read it, it resonated about Maxie. But, and this is what it says. And just before I read it, I just want to say to Renee, did Renee leave? No, I'm here. Oh, you're back there. to thank, yes, it was really wonderful work with Senator Cardin in elevating 8 offices of minority health in the federal government. And so that's why I don't want to see us totally dismantle the Affordable Care Act. Fix it, but don't totally dismantle it. And I want to say about one person is Richard Rowe. When I went after Richard Rowe, as the co-founder of the Black Men Health Alliance, when I went after Richard Rowe, Richard said, Richard wouldn't pay me any mind. He was at Urban League. I kept sending him letters, sending him notes. We need you at the Black Men Health Alliance. Finally, I wore him down. And he finally came, and it has been the best decision I ever made, because Richard has been the catalyst that have kept this organization going and the lights burning for all these years. Thank you again, Richard. And I do want to say a special thank you to Jan for coming back and breathing life back in our organization. I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. So what was said, what was written on the back of this card, it says, and I'm not going to read all of it because I know time's going. It said, live a life that matters. You remember that? It says, so what will matter? We're not going to go through all of it, but it's what will matter is how will the value of your days be measured. And what will matter is not what you bought, but what you built. What will matter is not what you got, but what you gave. What will matter is not what you learned, but what you taught. What will matter is every act of integrity, compassion, courage, sacrifice that enriched and empowered you, and encourage others to emulate your example. What will matter, and keep Maxie in mind as I'm reading all of this, what will matter is how many will feel the lasting loss when you're gone. How many will feel the lasting when you're gone. What will matter is how long you will be remembered and by whom. And for that, and for what? Living a life that matters doesn't happen by accident. It's not a matter of circumstance, but of choice. Live a life that matters. Maxie Collier lived a life that matters. And that's why we're here this evening. I thank you.
Ms. Pulliam, thank you so much for those words. We appreciate that. Always, every time you speak, I feel like I get words of wisdom from you in some form or fashion. Every encounter I've had, an opportunity I've had to hear you speak, and today was no exception, but again, an honor well-deserved. Well-deserved. I just want to remind everybody that members of the Collier family are here, and I think they would like an opportunity to shake a hand if they haven't had a chance to talk with you tonight, so please do so when that happens. And before, we're going to close out shortly, but before we do, please remember also that Dr. Stewart will be here for those of you who might like to have an opportunity to shake her hand and talk with her for a moment as well. Jan?
We are very close to the end. I'd actually like to ask members of, Kathy is a good friend, a great friend, and a great supporter of the Black Mental Health Alliance, but she also introduced to me this evening for the first time to other members of the Collier family. Would you please just stand? Thank you so much. So as we close, I probably would not be a good executive director if I did not make an appeal to each and every one of you to make a very tangible commitment to the Black Mental Health Alliance in the form of either membership or a donation. And my culture, my tradition is a Baptist church. And if you ever been to a Baptist church and you've been to a service and they didn't take an offering, something was wrong, okay? So in the spirit of that culture, I'm asking you to please, please consider making a donation to the Black Mental Health Alliance. We know that this was a fundraiser and it was a ticketed event, but we really need you to be members of the Black Mental Health Alliance and to financially support our organization. We have to stop waiting, Dr. Arthur Stewart, in the spirit of Dr. Arthur Stewart and Dr. Maxie Collier, for other people to come and save us. We have to save ourselves.
So in that Baptist, no, I'm not going to do that. You can give by credit card today. As you were at the registration table, we do have those means that if you would like to give, and I know that sometimes as I mentioned in my opening comments, that you will see the glimpse, just a glimpse of the work that the Black Mental Health Alliance is involved in. So if you would like to do that, you can go online right now. You can meet us in the registration, or you can just write a check, Black Mental Health Alliance, and we will greatly receive that. Again, we really do appreciate your support, and we're looking for bigger and better. Next year, we're looking for this to be even better, and thank you again.
So in the spirit of Russell Simmons, good night and God bless.